What up? What up? Hey, over the past week or so, I've been thinking about like a video I watched a couple years ago. I think it was shortly before UFC 98, or UFC 92, the Ultimate 2008. It was from my pal Chase. He's of course the fan, UFC fan. He has a great channel here on YouTube, and he's just posing, asking people who they thought could beat the current champs at that time. I mean, since like 2009, I think the weight classes shaped themselves up with some very dominant champs that a lot of people didn't see losing for the foreseeable future. I believe there were, of course, Brock Lesnar, Lyoto Machida, of course, Anderson Silva, Georges St. Pierre, and BJ Penn, of course, at lightweight. All five of these guys were just real dominant. They just really had a stronghold on that division. And in a couple cases, namely Anderson Silva and BJ Penn, they even considered and did, trying their hand at higher weight classes. Of course, various results. GSP also himself has been pressured to move up. A lot of people have been wanting to see him fight Anderson Silva. Lyoto Machida, of course, is he thought everyone thought he was going to be the one to bring the stability to a very volatile light heavyweight division where the title just seemed to be changing hands every other fight. And of course, Brock Lesnar, a lot of people thought they should, add a new weight class specifically for him. But I think since 2009, since the start of the year, there's been some major shakeups with like each title defense, except in the welterweight. But we still have another fight going there with George St. Pierre against Koscheck. But just about every other division has really been shaken up with the last fight, with the last couple challenges. And that's what I just want to talk about a little bit. Let's start at lightweight with the champion BJ Penn. Of course, BJ Penn is regarded as one of the most talented fighters in MMA history. He has great hands, great jiu-jitsu credentials. Very lauded takedown defense. I mean, he just really has it everything. Just a very gifted athlete. Very and a very great fighter. He has emerged as a great fighter and a great champion over the last year, with some very dominant victories over Kenny Florian and Diego Sanchez. In those fights, he seemed to just really just it looked like he just finished them at their leisure. There was nothing really that those guys had for him, and I think he was just really able to instill some fear with his power and with his ability to just really tag them anytime they tried to engage. Now, he just recently lost, and he's having a rematch against, of course, Frankie the Answer Edgar at the end of this month. Now, in that fight, a lot of people commented on how BJ Penn may not have been himself, how he may have came into the fight injured. I think even his corner just said that he was coming off a really bad sinus infection. No shit. But from my personal unbiased, and I know I've given a very colorful view on BJ Penn over the years. I'm not that big a fan of him at all. I admit that. But just from my observation or something, he didn't look any different than he did in his last two fights where he was dominating. I think Frankie was clearly the answer, or I think he was clearly the difference in this fight with BJ Penn. Now, going back to BJ Penn's last two title defenses, I believe the late Billy DKY, God rest his soul, he was speaking up the mind of BJ Penn and how he can just usually he lets his opponents do what they want to do, and he just really counters them. He doesn't really press the action, just kind of lays back and lets you dictate where the fight's going to go. And I think that's what he did. That's what he did effectively against Florian and Sanchez. They came in, and when they engaged or something very early in the fight, he was able to tag both of them really hard. I mean, when Kenny went in for that Superman punch, he got clocked, and of course, Diego, he got clocked real hard with a punch by BJ, and he got just I thought he was going to get finished right there with the choke, but BJ just let both those guys hang out for a while until finally, I mean, even before I go into the finish, for the rest of those fights, those guys were scared to engage because BJ was able to land, was able to outstrike them, and they was able to land anytime he wanted to, anytime they came in. So they resorted to takedowns or just trying to clinch him against the fence to try to avoid damage. Just really able to instill some fear there. BJ Penn just sat against the fence, just stuffing their takedown attempts very easily until in the fourth and fifth rounds, with Florian and Diego respectively, he just finally went in for the kill, picking up Kenny Florian and just passing his guard and tapping him out. And of course, kicking a hole in Diego Sanchez's head. Just ending that fight, finishing Diego for the first time in his career. Um, while those fights were impressive, um, that's kind of what worked. The way he fought those fights worked against him in the fight with Frankie Edgar. As strong as BJ is with his hands, he was not powerful enough to knock out Frankie Edgar with his fists. Frankie kept coming in there, engaging him, throwing his combos without fear, of getting his lights taken out because BJ hit him a whole bunch of times. However, Frankie was able to take the shot. He did not slow his pace, kept the pressure on BJ. See, when he tagged the other guys, they changed what they were doing, and that really allowed BJ to really move at his own pace, not expend any energy, and basically, like I said, just finish the fight at his leisure. Just really, but Frankie was able to keep the pressure on him despite getting tagged. He got hit a few times, and plus he was able to deliver some damage to BJ as well. A lot of people are saying they were just point strikes or he's just doing that, but BJ Penn's known for his very durable skin and a good chin and everything, and he has some bruises. He kind of raccooned a little bit in there. Frankie did a good job. Like I said, in the fifth round, it was just remarkable watching, Frankie just move at the same speed he did in the first and second rounds. He was just able to really just gas BJ by BJ allowing him to just do what he wanted to do and not putting any pressure on him. He was able to put the pressure on BJ, outlast his attacks, and eventually gas him and end up making a bigger impression on the judges. Now, as he goes into this rematch with Edgar, he's gonna have to really put the he's gonna have to really just get the dog in him and just have to go after Edgar, go try to take him down, try to submit him, try to knock him out, just really put the pressure on him to really work that gas tank of Frankie Edgar and maybe go for the finish. Um, I think this is just another case, just one lesson that we're learning in MMA. Things just change very quickly, and there's always going to be a. I mean, no matter how dominant someone is one year, things change very fast. You can look at the last few years of MMA. There's always these big, upsets, big arrivals or something that really the state of this sport is just really in a lot of flux right now, and just like you can never count on someone being at the top for long. I'll be right back with you talking about the next weight class in a second. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoy the next. Holla.